Good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here from the Outdoor Magazine radio studio, here to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. I will tell you who's coming up on this show a little bit later in our live stream here. But first, let me say happy Wednesday morning to you. Happy hump day. And the days are certainly getting longer, aren't they? When I drove in this morning, it was daylight. I noticed last night, like 6:15, it's light. Hello, Tommy. Good morning. How are you? Nice to have you along with us. Hello, Craig. Always a pleasure, buddy. How are you? John Callison, how are things over at CMU? Davina, wouldn't be a Wednesday without you being here with us, Davina. Good morning, Carl. Bernie as well. Appreciate you folks being along with me on this edition of Behind the Mic. Hey, Ross. Good morning, buddy. How are you? Still working on your back. Good luck on that, Ross. Backs are bad. Bad backs are a bad, bad thing, aren't they? Jerry, good morning. Lost Glove, good morning. Jim Ward, good morning. Gary. Hey, Gary, how are you? Don't recognize your name. Appreciate you being along with us. Checking in from Iowa. Thank you. Appreciate that. Robert, good morning. How are you? Hello, Corey from my neck of the woods. It is a beautiful morning, isn't it? And you're in the Adirondacks of New York. It's a beautiful morning here in Michigan, too. A lot of sunshine, a little bit warmer. And it's going to be a nice day. Jason checking in from the Ford Dearborn truck plant. Good morning. Jason, Ross is getting old. Yeah. Yeah. My dad suffered from a bad back for years. I know that they're just literally a pain, no pun intended. David, good morning. Johnny Bowler, my friend. Good morning, buddy. How are you? Nice to have you along with us. Look forward to seeing you in a few weeks, Johnny. We won't be seeing Ross, slacker. Gene, good morning. David, appreciate you being with us. Sunrise was phenomenal. Corey says, I'm at your gym right now. Well, Corey, it's not really my gym. If anybody, my wife has a claim to it. She's in there every day for several hours each day. David, appreciate you being along with us on what looks like it's going to be a beautiful morning here in my neck of the woods. I'm here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio, actually WSGW, but I get to share it for a few. When I passed on that bear and I said I know he was flipping me the bird or wanting to kick me in the rear end. Yeah. Normally, I come into the studio and I have a big jug of Crystal Light. I forgot my lemonade Crystal Light this morning, so I was jonesing. And then I remembered, I figured that was at Ross. And then I remembered, I've got a bunch of water in the back of the truck and some packets of Crystal Light. This is not my go-to Crystal Light. I like the Crystal Light lemonade. One thing I found out with this stuff, you have to be careful. All right, I want you to look at this, okay? You see the color of this? When I go bear hunting, I am out there for hours at a time. So, right? And sometimes I use water bottles. So you got to be careful that you make sure that you grab the right water bottle to drink out of. And I'll leave it at that. Hey, Matt, how are things down on Lake Erie? The gym my wife and I utilize, yeah. You fish in open water? I think I asked you this last week, Matt, but I don't remember what the answer is. Going to be open water up here soon. Wasn't much of an ice fishing season, was it? I realize in the north, that coffee here is terrible. I do realize. Well, yeah, yeah, Ross, I hear you. No makers mark yet. Looking to get out this weekend in Lake Erie. What's everybody used to store and take tip-ups out on the lake? I'm old school, like pack baskets. It seems bags are becoming a favorite. Jerry, how much longer do you figure you'll be on the ice? With the warm temps coming, certainly was not much of an ice fishing season on the big water, that's for sure. So what's on my list this morning? Longer days, end of the ice fishing season, shed hunting season, river fishing, Turkey. Oh, no way. Nick saw his first dead skunk the other day in Coldwater. You know what that means. Davina says 3 to 4 days of ice fishing on Lake St. Clair. She didn't get out, though. Matt says he likes the sound tip-ups make as they fit in the basket. Corey says, glad to see the guys got safe from the ice the other day. Wednesday Night Live at Lumberjack is coming up, Emil, on, you know it here, 15th? Nope, not the 15th. What did we decide, Emil? 22nd? Remind me, Emil. It wouldn't be the 15th. It's got to be the 22nd. No, that's Ash Wednesday. Remind me, Emil, what did we decide? March 22nd, which is Ash Wednesday. Let me make sure I put up my calendar here. Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack. All right. Jerry, good morning. Ice is questionable on Spider Lake. Jason had a skunk on his trail camera down in St. Clair County. Whoa. Coldwater had a dead skunk in the middle of the road yesterday. You know what that means, Pat? Yeah, it's still early February. There's no stupid question, Johnny. If it's bad ice, will the fishing be better in the spring when you can get out in the boat? Not a stupid question, Johnny, but I don't think it'll matter. The only thing it'll be is maybe there will be more fish out there because the ice fishermen didn't get to them this year. But I don't know. And Johnny, when are you finally going to come down and fish walleye with me on Saginaw Bay on the Angler Quest? Come on. It's time to make that happen. And it's stinking to high heaven, yeah. Wayne checking in from Las Vegas. How are you? Brian says, anybody finding any sheds? Jerry, where are you? Fishing on 20 inches last Saturday in Upper Lake, New York, 36 degrees below zero this morning. Wow. Yeah, my truck did turn out great. Hunter Joe says he's smelling a skunk this morning. Wow. You know what that means? It means springtime is just around the corner. David said he's still got bucks behind the house that have the rack. Okay, let me get to some topics here before turkey season. And we will set a date around your schedule and weather. Well, we can set it around my schedule. The weather, Johnny, as you know, is one of those things. Although where I keep my boat in the Saginaw River, if we get a blow day, we can always fish the river, which is not as productive or is not as much fun as the bay, but we do have it as an option. And that's actually one of the big reasons why I don't keep my Angler Quest at Linwood Beach. Because at Linwood Beach, if you get a blow day, you're stuck at the dock. Where I am at the mouth of the river, if you get a blow day, you can fish the river or at least take a river cruise. Plus, my favorite fishing ground is about a mile from the mouth of the river. Turkey hunt. I'm really looking forward to that. Thinking about open water fishing on Saginaw Bay, which makes me think about those rod restrictions I was pushing for a couple of years ago. I think it's time to really put a real push on for that. Martin checking in from the ice on Lake Superior. How's the ice up there? Nick says lots of bucks dropping on camera the last 3 weeks. Johnny, we should plan on June or early July for the best fishing. Bernie said the winter's so mild, the deer are sticking around his house. Scott, good morning. Scott, I was glad to see that post about your grandson. He's a very, very cool kid. And thank you for your donation of a youth hunter at your farm for our Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner. By the way, that dinner is coming up Saturday, March 4th. There are still, I checked with the ladies yesterday, there are still just a handful of tickets left, if that many. Call 989-662-4891, or I have the information on my Facebook page as well. Keweenaw, 8 to 10 inches of ice. I got to believe for the Keweenaw this time of year, that's not much ice. Putting in the docks and lifts in about 5 weeks. June will work, Johnny says. Except I will be bear hunting, Johnny. Let me rephrase that. I will be shooting a bear, Johnny, in Ontario the first week in June. Good morning, Tim. How are you? Are you and Jen coming down for the dinner? Tommy, got any good tips for turkey hunting? I've only been hunting for them a couple times in the past. I have private property to hunt. Tommy, and this is going to seem like I'm trying to be a smart aleck, but I'm not, because I've been told this very same tip by some of the best turkey hunters I know. The number one tip in turkey hunting is to be where there are birds. And that comes into play because birds will wander. So if you've got property that the birds are on, when you can be there, that is the number one tip. Davina says next week she'll be in Manistee chasing steelhead with Captain Paul Schlafly of Riverside Charters. Paul also has been very generous. He donated a springtime salmon fishing trip for 4 on Lake Michigan to our Trinity Monitor dinner. Johnny says he'll come down between my bear killing and the 1st of July. Okay, Johnny. Well, that sounds good. Oh, we still have openings for our Ohio bow hunt with Bill Piles. A couple of openings. I'd love to see you come down with us. If you are at all interested, send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, and I will shoot you the details. Mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. I actually have a text into Bill Piles right now to see if he can join me tonight for Wednesday Night Live to talk about that Ohio bow hunt, because now is the time to lock those hunts in. Tim says you guys have other obligations. Tim. Yeah, the Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack is going on Ash Wednesday. I'll probably get some grief from people for doing one on Ash Wednesday, but I'm doing a Wednesday Night Live anyway. Capture some nice birds. My goal is to get my daughter out with me. She's 4, loves the deer hunt. I tell you what, Tommy, if your daughter likes to deer hunt with you, she will love turkey hunting, because it's warm. The birds are vocal. Thank you, Pat. The birds are vocal. And even if you don't get one in front of you, if you hear a gobble, it gets you all excited. No, next Wednesday is Amy Trotter. Next Wednesday, Amy Trotter of MUCC joins me on Wednesday Night Live. We got a lot to talk about. Including consent decree. Our governor thinking that she doesn't want to talk about hunting or fishing or conservation issues, but she does want to talk about making sure that we have universal background checks and we make sure that we lock our guns up in our houses. Which I got to be honest to you, Governor, that's none of your business, okay? It's none of your business what I do with a gun in my house as long as I'm legal. And I am legal. How I store guns in my house is my responsibility. And don't worry about it, Governor. You just worry about getting your boat out of storage early during COVID, and I will worry about storing guns safely in my home, okay? And then why don't you worry about fixing the damn roads? You go fix the damn roads, and I will take care of storing guns safely in my home. Deal? Deal. What a joke. Ugh. Where's Scott? Is there a way to open up online bidding for your dinner? Could be, well, yes. It's funny you should mention it. one.bidpal.net. Everything that we have at the dinner that is not part of the live auction or a gun raffle is available online. And I will be posting the link to that. Yes, you don't have to be there. You don't have to be there to win. Are we a little excited this morning? No more than usual. No, listen, I have a hard time with politicians, any politician from any party. I think that's it, one.bidpal.net, but it's not open yet, Ross. Listen, stay out of our lives, okay? Take care of the infrastructure, which you really promised you were going to do. Support the schools, provide police at a state level, and then stay out of our lives. She's sending me $180 for my vote. It's going to cost her a lot more than $180 for me to vote for her. Davina says, who's on the show this week? John Durtka kicks off the show this week. The numbers are in on how many fish the spear fishermen have actually harvested in Michigan. And I think you might be surprised at that number. People say, oh, no, these spear fishermen are going to decimate the walleye population or the pike population or whatever. Not so. We're going to talk about those numbers and more. Then Scott Hamlin of the Boning Company. Hopefully, I haven't heard back from Scott. Pat, that's the only thing keeping us from declaring autopilot right now. Okay. From Boning Archery, talking about the history of that company and arrow building. It's a great time of year to be building some arrows. In hour number 2, Ali Shakur, a fisheries biologist. Yeah, I know it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm having him on, John, because he gets a lot of grief on social media from people saying what you're doing is unethical and you're going to destroy the resource. I tell you what doing is very ethical. For those guys to go underwater without tanks and spear fish in their environment is a heck of a lot more challenging and takes much more dedication than what I'm doing by trolling on the angler quest on the surface. So I have much respect for these people. Yeah, I don't think we've seen the end of her, though, Davina. Matthew, appreciate you saying that. Ali Shakur talks about springtime fishing. He talks about the biology of keeping spawn-filled springtime fish on the Great Lakes. Another thing people get grief for, Detroit River. They're holding up all these big, 10, 11-pound fish. People say, oh, let those spawners go. Well, Ali looks at it from a biological perspective, and I'm looking forward to getting his thoughts and more. Then Amy Trotter of MUCC joins me to finish up the second hour. In fact, I keep her for 2 segments. I want to talk to her about the consent decree debacle and how it appears that sport anglers are being left out and are getting the short end of the stick. I also want to talk to her about the governor's comments about guns and much more. And then in hour number 3, we've got a pretty good show this week. Not that they aren't all good shows. In hour number 3, the whitetail whisperer himself, John Eberhart, joins me. I want to talk to John about postseason scouting. He's been in the outdoor media lately, too. This whole concept of Mitch Rompola and that potential world record buck will not go away some 25 years later. And John's been talking about that on social media. We may or may not get to that. I'm a little reluctant to. And then Wild Game Chef Dixie Dave Miner wraps it all up. So what else have I got here? The Trinity Dinner, Saturday, March 4th. There are still just a few tickets left. As part of that event, there is an online auction. All of our silent auction items, which will be fishing trips, predator hunts, blinds, all kinds of good stuff. Those will be available 3 minutes. Those will be available online. I will have details on that as we get closer. In fact, I can tell you right now what the link's going to be. One.bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor. One.bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor. So, Ross, even though you're not there, we might be able to get some of your money anyway. I mentioned Wednesday Night Live, Amy Trotter on not tonight, but a week from tonight. And the Ohio Hunt with Bill Piles. We have a couple of openings. I would love to see you join us. Bill also. No, I didn't watch the State of the Union, but I did see the excerpt where the president's wife kissed the vice president's husband on the lips, which was a little creepy. Just saying. Creeped me out a little bit. Good morning, Amy. How are you? Appreciate you being along with us. Yeah, you know, Matt, you know Ali. He's a great guy. Bill gave an Ohio bow hunt away to us to auction off for our Trinity dinner. So that's another one of the live auction items. The live auction items will not be available for online bid. The live auction items are just that, a live auction. The rest of the auction items will be available online at one.bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor. Hello, Billy. Good morning. How are you? Appreciate you joining us on this edition of Behind the Mic. My name is Mike Avery. I'm here behind two microphones. People say, why? This one that I'm talking to you right now on, and this one that I will use to record the radio show. And the first segment we will start here in just a minute and a half or so. 1 minute. What else? We'll be live tonight, Wednesday Night Live at 7 o'clock. Possibly Bill Piles will be joining me. I know Amy Trotter will join me for Wednesday Night Live next week. Will I have a live feed from the dinner? I will not, because I will be way busy as the host and auctioneer of the event. Last thing I'll be thinking about. I don't think they're taking reservations at the Lumberjack yet, but I can check. No, probably not yet. They will that night, though. Yeah. 30 seconds. So I better get a clock ready to start here. Hey, Jeremy. Good morning. How are you, buddy? 15 seconds. Making sure I'm good to go here.
And we got
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. Yes, this is Crystal Light. Not my usual Crystal Light. Not my usual Crystal Light lemonade. I forgot at home this morning. And that's going to be a bummer. All right. I got to switch gears here, switch focus from talking with you, interacting with you, directly responding to most of your questions, to recording the radio show. So if you ask me a question, I won't be able to answer directly. But I will be back tonight at 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. And I hope to see you then. Have a good day, my friends. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. What is this show about? Well, in my mind, it's a celebration. It's a celebration of the outdoor lifestyle here in the great state of Michigan. A celebration of hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and wildlife issues and conservation issues and even some wild game cooking. I don't talk about hiking or biking or sailing or bird watching, not because those aren't great and valid and viable outdoor activities. I think anything that gets you outdoors is a wonderful activity. Anything that gets you out of the house, off the couch, away from the electronic screens, it's all good. But I don't know of anybody who is seriously trying to take away bird watching and hiking and biking and boating and sailing and all that kind of stuff. No. But what I call the consumptive outdoor lifestyle, hunting and fishing and trapping, where sometimes we harvest critters. Now, every trip doesn't have to end in a harvest. Every fishing trip or every hunting trip doesn't have to end in a harvest, but oftentimes they do. So it's a consumptive use of the resource. Now, that resource is renewable. It's not like if you shoot a rabbit that you've taken, say you go out and you shoot 5 rabbits. Well, it's not going to take long for those 5 rabbits to be replenished. Mother Nature will take care of that if the habitat is there to support it. But because it is a consumptive activity and because it sometimes involves the use of guns or other tools, some people are not a real fan of our way of life or the way of life, the outdoor lifestyle. We see it all the time. And, everything from gun control to anti-hunters to, I don't know. But I grew up in this lifestyle. I grew up in a hunting and fishing, trapping, and shooting family. My granddad did it. I didn't know my great-granddad. I knew my granddad very well. And he was, man, was he smart. Not book smart, not educated smart, but just smart in life. He would go out on the porch in the morning. He wouldn't look at a weather forecast. He'd go out on the porch in the morning and he'd look at the sky. He'd feel the temperature. He'd feel the humidity. He'd feel the wind. He'd feel the direction. And he knew what the weather was going to do. But as a farmer, he needed to know those things. My dad was much the same way. Now, I would suspect that my dad would say, and we never really had this conversation. I wish I would have. I bet my dad would say that he was not as smart or knowledgeable or as in tune with the outdoors or as good of a hunter or angler as his dad, my grandpa, was. But I will tell you this. I know I am not nearly the outdoorsman that my dad was, and certainly my grandpa. And when I want to know what the weather's going to be like, I'm more likely to take my phone out of my pocket and look at a screen than I am walk outside and feel the conditions and make an educated guess. So because our way of life has its detractors and its critics, and because I see firsthand in my own life that we as a society are becoming less involved, less intimately involved, less personal knowledge of the outdoors and Mother Nature than previous generations, it bothers me. I'm concerned about it. I would hate to think that this lifestyle wouldn't be here in a few generations. Now, I realize in many Michigan families, that's not a concern, right? Especially you get to the UP, the northern part of the state. I mean, we are firmly ensconced and in love with this outdoor passion, pursuit. It's not a hobby, it's a way of life. But there are enough people in the southern part of the state where the population is that don't have the same background and passion that we do. And they don't have the same insight and knowledge that we do, that when hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping issues come up, they can be easily swayed by the non-hunters, the anti-hunters, the anti-fur people, the all that whole crowd. And I'm not disparaging those people because they don't know. They're ignorant, but I don't mean that in a bad sense. They just, many of them didn't grow up hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping. So they don't have that frame of reference. Their parents didn't teach them that. So they don't know. So I think it's real important these days that we continue to get the word out. We continue to show ourselves in a positive light. We continue to portray ourselves as stewards of the resource as we are, to the non-hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping public, not the antis, right? They're never going to get it. If you look at the population of Michigan, probably the population of this country, on one end of the spectrum, you have the hardcore antis They're anti-fur, they're anti-hunting, they're anti-shooting, they're anti-trapping, they're anti-fishing, they're anti-agriculture. They want to live in this little weird utopian, what they think is utopian world. So what is that? Maybe 10% of the population, hopefully less. They're on one end of the spectrum. We, as hardcore hunters and anglers and shooters and trappers, are on the other end of the spectrum. Call us 10%. I hope it's more than that, but call us 10%. So then you've got the 80% of people in the middle who are non-participants. They're not anti, they just don't know. And those are the people that we have to reach. Those are the people that we have to get involved. Those are the people that we got to take fishing with us, take hunting with us, take out to the gun range with us. Or at the very minimum, those are the people that we want to portray ourselves as good stewards of the resource to. And how do we do that? Well, I mean, listen, I am convinced that the vast majority of hunters and anglers and shooters and trappers are good, law-abiding, moral, ethical, decent people. But we have to portray ourselves that way. So when it comes to social media, think about how you're holding a critter, a fish, and I don't want to say sterilize or make your pictures palatable to everybody, but I'm just saying keep such things in mind, right? Because, well, Avery, I mean, the only people who follow me on Facebook are my friends, and they're hunters and anglers. Not so, not true. People who don't follow you can see your posts. I get this all the time. I'm like, well, if you don't like this, why are you following me? I'm not following you, but one of my friends is, and so it showed up on their feed. So just keep that type of thing in mind, right? That is not the direction that I thought this opening segment was going to go this week. So what else is going on? Hey, the days are getting longer, much longer. Have you noticed that? The days are getting longer. And I haven't seen one yet. But as I was doing my behind the mic segment here in the studio, somebody came on and said in Coldwater, they saw their first dead skunk in the middle of the road. That is a sign that springtime cannot be far away. Ice fishing. I don't know what the ice is like in your part of the state, but across much of the state, it has not been much of an ice fishing season. Shed hunting. People are out there shed hunting. River fishing has been pretty good for both walleye, steelhead. Turkey hunting's coming up. I'm getting real excited about that. Real excited. And of course, my springtime bear hunt up in Ontario. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, John Durtka, the guy who has really, I think, pioneered underwater spearfishing here in Michigan, talks about their harvest rate. They have solid numbers now as to how many fish his group has harvested. I want to talk with them about that because they've gotten a lot of heat. Again, a lot of it on social media saying you guys are going to decimate the resource. It isn't fair what you're doing. Well, we're going to talk to John about that. Then Scott Hamlin of the Boning Company, Michigan-based Boning, talking about the history of that company, also with some advice on building your arrows for this time of year. Ali Shakur in hour number 2, is it biologically sound to keep spawn-filled fish this time of year? Amy Trotter from MUCC, I'm sure she wants to talk about the consent decree. I'm going to use the word debacle. And also the governor's recent governor's State of the State address. And then in hour number 3, the whitetail whisperer, John Eberhart, on postseason whitetail scouting and more. And of course, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire, Dixie Dave Miner. A good show this week, a busy show. I'm glad you're with us. I hope you can stick around for all 3 hours of this week's Outdoor Magazine. Sly, I don't know. Sly, I know you're going to be funny, and I don't know who you are, but those are the types of comments that don't put you in good stead or in a good light here on my page because, so if you want to stick around, Sly, you might want to stop commenting like that. And if you don't want to stick around, that's fine too, because we can take care of that. All right, my friends, have a good day. I'll see you tonight, 7 o'clock, for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. In the meantime, Have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine and the warm